I'm Drew Bezanson. I'm a professional BMX rider, and we're gonna do something a little bit different right now.
Friends, we are currently at my friend Drew Bezanson's house in the upstairs of the garage, the loft where the ramp is. And in here, as you would kind of expect, lies a bunch of the pretty influential bikes throughout Drew's career. One, we thought it would be fun to like talk about the bikes themselves and the stories behind them, at least for two of them. Two, I thought it'd be fun to like try and ride them. So I was like, can I ride them? And he's like, yeah, why wouldn't you be able to ride them? So that is kind of what we're doing. Going down memory lane, especially for this one, because this is the bike that I remember when Drew was on like the coming up, but still being in Nova Scotia quite a bit. This was the bike that was around all the time. We had big ramp sessions in here. Everyone was around. This was the bike. And just as a beginning note, I'd like you to all acknowledge that I'm aware and that you are aware that I am not going to be able to do these bikes and what they did with their proper pilot any justice. But I wanted to ride them, so I'm going to.
This is the bike I built up towards the end of 2009. It was when Shadow first came out with their highlighter blue line. DK Team Front, I think this is the version 2. And DK Race Forks, DK Social Cranks, insanely strong. I love those things. Trust them with my life. Pretty much everything else is Shadow. Ravager pedals, sprocket, chain, rim, stem, bars, grips, seat post clamp, and bottom bracket and headset as well. I don't have them on at the moment, but I've always ran brakes, and I would always ride the M2 small lever to an Odyssey GTXS gyro. Then I would run V-brake noodles, straight cables back to proper brakes. This is definitely the bike that I feel like kind of made me stand out. It's a bike that I rode at Joyride 150 for the first time. I got kicked out of the US at the end of 2009. I remember one of my friends was living in Ontario, and he's like, oh, there's a 90,000 square foot bike park opening up in Ontario. And I kind of called BS. I was like, there's no way, it's Canada. I went to Joyride 150 January 1st of 2010, stayed with John at Ryder in Kitchener, Ontario. And I would drive every day from Kitchener to Joyride, ride from 4 to 10, drive back to Kitchener, which is over an hour, sleep for a few hours, wake up, repeat. My life was 110% BMX. It got to the point where it was so hard to ride, like during weekends and stuff, it was so busy that they gave me the opportunity to ride after hours. So I would show up at 4, ride 4 to 10, and then we would do like a fake close of the park, and then at 11 or 12 I'd flick all the lights back on and just ride till I pretty much dropped dead. Right. And had to get in my car and drive back to Kitchener, sleep for a few hours, and do the same thing the next day. And I really felt like I was at the level where I could be riding for such companies as, like, say a Red Bull or energy drink. So I just started filming edits, and back then web videos really were taking over where video parts used to be. The riders that I looked up that were doing it were Harry Main and Mark Webb. You know, they're getting so much love online. Like, I want some of this love. What they're doing, like, I'm not afraid to try that on top of a wall ride or a big sub box. So I really need to showcase what I feel like I'm capable of on a BMX bike. And that's when I teamed up with Charlie Carmelish, and we filmed 2 edits at the Rider Warehouse. He had ramps in the warehouse, my first Joyride edit, and then that kind of led right into competing. Beginning of 2010, I rode Toronto BMX Jam, then went to Estonia for the first time for Simple Session, and then Missouri for Jomo Pro test. I qualified first and won all of them. So this bike's special because of that, because I'd never lost a contest on it. And then also it kind of led to me getting my first Nora Cup and my first X Games invite, and then getting the opportunity to ride for Red Bull as well.
This red one, the one that's here, is one of quite a few different full red bikes that Drew has had in his entire career. I was kind of asking, the one that was ridden in uncontainable? Nope, that one is in a fly bag downstairs. We went and looked at it. It's more of a translucent red, and this is also not the video from like shutting down Joyride 150. That was one of the first all red, all powder coated red bikes from DK that Drew got. So this red one, this is more of like an evolution built on all of the different all red bikes that Drew has had in the past. It is a super nice feeling bike. It is a very fast bike because of the gearing. Drew runs like 29.9, maybe 30.9. Not something I'm used to. I normally run 25.9. And, well, it's very light, very tight. It's just too fast. And it makes me nervous. So I feel weird riding it. But I said I wanted to ride all these bikes, so I'm going to. Yeah, this bike's actually, it maybe is too pro for me.
We were in the middle of nowhere, Nova Scotia. Okay, giving a little rundown of the last bike I was riding before my accident. It was the new DK Phase series. Phase, frame, fork and bars, and seat and post. A profile stem, and then RNC titanium cranks, RNC titanium pegs, profile wheels with titanium spokes, and alienation rims on top of them with new super light tubolitos, the Odyssey brake line top to bottom, Odyssey Evolve 2 brakes, and clear brake pads. And on the back I actually run a profile front hub guard because it works in the back, which actually makes it a little bit lighter. On this bike here I have titanium axle nuts, which is actually from my very first bike sponsor ever, Session Bike Co. They've been on every single one of my bikes since 2005 on. Anytime I built up a new bike, I would take these off my old bike, put them on my new bike, and I told myself if they ever broke, that's when I would retire. But they're still growing strong, so I'll be back as soon as possible. I've always loved an all red bike. My first bike I ever owned was a red BMX bike from Zeller's back in the day I wanted to do another red bike, and they painted me frame, fork, and bars fire engine red. I definitely did a few Joyride edits on the all red bikes. Frame is still at Joyride. Get it back at some point and put it up on the wall. There's lots of good memories from all red bikes throughout my career.
So this is the newest build. This is the freshie. This one doesn't really have a story yet, but there's very little doubt in my mind that it will. I would say that the installed bar spin button on this probably works like a top, and I'd like to see that it does. Yeah, bar spin button working as intended. Dang, that thing. This is dialed. I hate to admit it, but I almost feel like I should cut my bars down a little bit. And watch this. I'm gonna feel really weird on my own bike because I've been riding 3 very similarly set up bikes that are not mine. I've gotten used to them, so it won't be used to mine.